Heyo, welcome to Benchwarmers, a Woso podcast, episode 14. Wow, we are nearly at the midway break, but we are smashing through the start of the season, and we have got to another international break. Oh,
they're coming so fast now. It's like every 3 weeks. It was crazy.
It's wild. I mean, we have a little bit of league to talk about, but it's very minimal in comparison to these teams right here who battled it out over two seriously entertaining legs of football. The Nations League final, once mocked for its ultimately lack of effort or lack of care, I guess.
I think it's still mocked. I think it is still seen as like the clown league. It's basically the Conti Cup of international football.
I don't disagree with that at all, to be fair. I feel like there is a different level of interest to a national tournament, of course, and also just the commonality of the Nations League being kind of every year as an operation. I think it kind of dumbs down its not legitimacy, but notoriety of it, because there is still a hunger to win internationally.
Well, it's not just that as well. It's also, I think the Nations League has ramifications for, European spots and qualifiers, places where they're going to settle.
So they've given incentive to it, and clearly there was definitely incentive in this Nations League final, albeit two teams that will qualify for pretty much everything that is to offer. But we're going to start there with La Roja versus Die Mannschaft, a beautiful first leg, a very entertaining battle of ideological football that was ultimately not taken to the beneficiaries that were Germany, a team that completely out-tacticianed Spain across the park. I feel like Germany were all over them and were very, very unlucky to not capitalise on the multitude of chances that they had in that first leg. How did you feel? Obviously, we're both predicting La Roja to win this first leg, and they just got piled on with pressure across the park. Were there any particular matchups that you felt were taken advantage of?
Well, I want to firstly say I think this is probably one of the most entertaining nil-alls that we're going to get.
Yeah,
I mean, it was incredible. But I think across the park you had very even matchups. I think you had players who were very, very fit and hungry. I think we were kind of, that first leg in particular, Germany were kind of like at Spain, especially physically wise, but like in a level that footballing, I don't think many other countries can say that they come up against. It's England play conservative against Spain. Like you have other teams try to catch them on the break. But I think Germany really set up, and the VUC system really accommodates them setting up and kind of playing to their strengths whilst also minimizing and deflecting, if you like, Spain's strengths. But I don't know. I have to say the two centre-backs coming up against the forward line of Germany. And I just thought, this is why Elena Paredes is the best centre-back in the world and has been for a very, very long time.
Again, we spoke not only a few pods ago, and we said, I mean, we had that Muppy or Paredes conversation, then you took the Muppy side, and then there's always another piece of substance to the conversation, and I think that was the big chance of the game. Jule Brand definitely having a massive impact across the park. I mean, I believe 3 to 5 dribbles completed in this game, looking like a different breed in a Germany top. What can I say? But Clara Bull still replicating that Bayern form, as she definitely gave Ona a piece of her, because that's what she does. She's now making her mark on any right back that she comes up against, and it means that Ona's best strengths in attacking, overlapping, trying to facilitate those offensive moves becomes completely neutralized, and you overthink. And that's what I kind of thought Ona was doing across both of these legs, to be honest, is overthinking when she should go forward and when she should go back, when we've seen the best of the right backs in the world, which includes her, but at the moment on form, Carpenter, Kasparai, even looking at Sveva in moments where they just push up the field at the right time, having the intuition to know when the ball's going to get there. But again, when you're coming up against Clara Bull, it's more of a lockdown job than it is a find your way behind her and overlap. But I think there were just too many chances for Germany to not capitalise on. Bull hit the post. Yula Brun with that shot that got blocked on the line by Irina Paredes, and then also hit the crossbar from what definitely I will say is a cross. But I will say just I want to throw this as a potential idea forward, as this is one of the highest level international footballing performances you've seen from both sides across both legs. This is top tier, no regression, just two managers trying to play their ideology on the field and ultimately trying to outmuscle each other. That's not to say Spain didn't have moments in that first leg as well. I feel like Alexia could have done better with that left-footed strike across the box, but albeit many players in the box, which is what Germany did really well in that first leg, which was flood the box, make sure that no one got those overlapping runs that's La Roja love to do, that pass and run, keep the ball moving and fluid. But then the best moment of the game for Spain has to be that Mariona turn and cross.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I kept watching it. We were doing it. I just kept watching it. It was a concerning amount of times that I watched that turn. But look, you mentioned
you just wish she was in an Arsenal top while she's doing that turn.
Yeah,
eh?
I'm actually. Don't even get me started on Arsenal players in international breaks, please. Don't even get me started. But no, you were talking earlier about Ona, and I think a piece that I think we can talk a little bit foreshadowing the second leg and the loss of players like Aitana. But I think we're kind of missing the fact that Patry is missing. And
oh yeah.
Ona Battier really relies on the fact that defensively, if she goes up, players will move over. And I trust Laia Alexandria, and I think she showed over the two legs just how good she can play in the six. But I do think that having Patry there is just kind of irreplaceable.
It's levels between
definitely.
them. I love Laia Alexandria. I'll stick by her all day. But the Patry Guerrero, we're talking about arguably a top 5 player in the world. You can even argue more now when she's ultimately her reputation is getting better as she stops playing, because you start to see the Achilles heels of La Roja and Barcelona all together just not being able to hold up the same way. The rigidity, the allowed control, and the perceived pressure of the opposition from knowing that if you try and split through her, you're not going to get anywhere. And then her creative ability up front. She's arguably the better long shot out of in that
agree.
midfield. That being said, I've watched Laia in the last 2 months hit absolute worldies from outside the box. But the last player I think we have to mention in that first leg, who we haven't really talked about much this year, albeit not having that much to do, is Karchaoui, the man of the match in that game. No questions asked. 5 saves, 9 recoveries, just serious performance from a player who ultimately never gets real plaudits as a obviously not replaced by a metric of no person that I know who talks about Woso would put her as the number 1 keeper in the world. I feel like AKB, Hannah Hampton get those plaudits way ahead of her, but this is just another reason to show that even when you get through La Roja's midfield, their star-studded defensive line, you have to get through Karchaoui as well. And she, honestly, I think she welcomes it. I think she wants Spain to be a little bit worse and leak a few shots, because the more she takes, the more she just gives. She just invites the pressure onto herself.
I think Karchaoui, remember, she's very young.
Yeah.
But I think that she has really grown as a goalkeeper. I think as a footballer, like, her football brain has always been on. Maybe not switched on. Maybe sometimes she's a little bit crazy.
Screw loose. Yeah.
But I actually think as a goalkeeper, in that traditional sense, something that I think a lot of the Spanish Latin goalkeepers struggle with a little bit, because they like to play with their feet, and those kind of traditional styles of goalkeepers doesn't really come naturally to them. I really found that her... And I'm not talking as a goalkeeper here, but I'm talking as someone who views goalkeepers all the time, and I can tell you the way that she sees and anticipates the shot and is placing herself far better than I've seen in the last 12 to 18 months of really seeing Karchaoui. I think it's the best that she's gotten. I think she was very good in the Euros, but I think that she's only getting better. And I think that she probably is going to be an unlikely key to Spain's success in the future, but also Barca's. And I think you don't really think about that. You don't think about keepers in Barca Spain systems as being a big cog, but I actually think that she will be.
You can even argue that the drop-off in position compared to any other place on the park, Spain's depth is immense. Not taking away from Nanclares at all. They have depth, but the drop-off from Nanclares from Karchaoui is very stark. And also the shoes and gloves she had to fill in Sandra Panos it's not even a question of where she was going to get to, but now she's attempting to eclipse that. We're looking at a Spain team who are contesting every single competition they go into, and even when they look down, even when they look dark, and you're going into that second leg thinking they've been tactically outclassed. Aitana has just been announced about 2 days before the game, a day and a half before the game, that she has a broken leg, a fractured fibula. And ultimately, I looked at the words that were written about this, and I went to the best source I could, which was my dad, who's a doctor, and they said that some of the stuff they were writing was complete waffle in terms of the medical terminology. But the reality is that I think, from what I've been told, that fractured fibulas don't tend to be 5 months. So what I think has probably happened is there is some sort of syndesmosis as well, so it's lower leg in in that fibula, closer to the ankle. It's harder, more invasive surgery, harder to recover from. That being said, we are talking about arguably the greatest mentality monster that has ever lived in the sport. And I have no doubt. I mean, this is ultimately how to follow the Alexia Putellas path of greatness, exactly. Which is be the best player in the world 3 years in a row, break your leg, come back 5 months later, be a bit rusty, and then come back and dominate the scene. So that's what I'm expecting. It will be a different level of mobility, but ultimately she will get back. She will have the best medical research and performance on offer for her. But this did switch up the second leg in terms of what we kind of thought would happen. Obviously, our predictions were that Spain would win overall in aggregate, but definitely not like this in this second performance, which you could argue is a complete 180 on the game prior. No Aitana, Mariona, as we said, this was the game. If Aitana was out, Bermudez could move Mariona centrally, which ultimately forces her hand to introduce Vicky Lopez into the starting lineup. And this was a spectacular move. Obviously, the obvious move, but sometimes managers make decisions that make us scratch our heads. But this was one where you just knew as soon as it was done, as soon as you kind of just thought to yourself, the players are in the right positions. There's no square pegs in round holes, in my opinion. This was a completely different game, and there were certain players that just turned up in ways that I didn't think were going to happen because of how well Germany did it in the first game. I feel like Julia Gwynn had an amazing lockdown job on Pina, making sure that that movement that she gets into, that flow stay, doesn't happen. But it just didn't happen. The communication on that right side of Germany just got piled on the whole time, and I think there was just opportunities gone begging for Germany in that first leg, where they're scratching their heads, and then you've got Claudia running at you saying, okay, that's your best night and our worst night, and now we're going to come out and I'm going to use my right foot. I'm going to get to the edge of the box whether you like it or not, and if you let it happen, I will score. And I think every single Woso fan that watched that final kind of knew that when Pina gets into that position, that Pina spot, there is no other person to label that position on the field. That 18 to 25 yards on the left side of the semicircle is the Pina location where she just has a homing missile of a right foot to be able to smash bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right with serious venom. And I kind of knew after the first goal that Germany aren't getting back in this, and they were knocking the ball about. Leia Alexandri looked untouchable. As we said, Patry was amazing, but Leia is making sure that fortress is still held up in the midfield. But what did you think of seeing Mariona centrally for La Roja? What does that give you in terms of, like, there are two players out, but she's now in her natural position as the second best player in the world in the last 12 months?
I would think, look, I think Mariona is best placed in a starting 11. And I think you need to play Mariona. I think she's imperative to any system. I just know, as
There's
a
a
watcher
hierarchy.
of Mariona,
Yeah.
that there is a place for her in the team that is not on that left wing. And to place her on the left wing is to basically nullify any attack that you would get from a traditional winger on that left side like you do with the right. And I think putting her in the center, you're getting so much more out of her. You're getting distribution, you're getting cover, you're getting off the ball work, you're getting on the ball work.
Her defense. Oh my
It's
God.
so many things that, to me, just shout that this is a player that's matured beyond that left-sided place. Like, basically, Mariona was a Liga Martins-esque left winger for Barca, right? She started there. Then things change. The systems change, players mature. And as Alexia was out, she shifted into the middle. She played as a false 9. She played as the 10. She played as the 8. We know that her best work is centrally. To me, I need a dossier. I need a 10,000 word essay from the Spanish Federation telling me why they keep playing her on the wing, because I have no idea. But
it's insane. It's just it's ridiculous. After watching Arsenal as well, she bossed the three that you play in the middle. Nearly, obviously, there's a lot of help, and Kim Little was immense in that run. But we're talking about a player who would have been worthy of the best player in the world last year in her rightful position, and you have players that you can switch and mold and then create, whether you want to create a diamond for La Roja, whether you want to play a 4-3-3. And obviously Alexia is now seen as untouchable. I've seen Alexia play off the left for Barcelona. I've seen Aitana move into encroaching positions, or you play a flat 3 without it and see what happens in terms of ball retention and who's going to do the dirty work. Because the reality is, I think you could play 2 8s and a 10, and ultimately lay up. If you want that extra cover, sure, but when you're playing in a final, I understand why you need that extra cover. But if you're playing in the middle of a group stage or just a regular friendly, give 2 8s and a 10 a go and see how much control you have over that midfield. Because, I mean, yes, you're trying to shoehorn in the greatest of the great, but it's not. It shouldn't be a problem. This shouldn't be an issue for Spain, where you have a player like Claudia Pina sitting on the bench or playing in the 9 out of position purely to shoehorn her in because her best game is off the left. So you're just hindering the firepower that you have across this team. And then there's players where you are just waiting for their firepower to eventuate into the starting 11. And I think Vicky Lopez is the real deal. I think that game kind of shows she can do it anytime, any place. The occasion does not matter to this 19-year-old. I think she gets younger every game, but it is ridiculous, her already stacked CV of accolades as a footballer who is looking to stay at Barcelona until the end of time. And this is what Barcelona do best. They retain, they develop, and then they inspire through their youngsters. It's leadership from the youth. And I think it's hard to even look at what Germany offered in that second game, because it was such a stark contrast. I mean, we even talked about the fitness and fatigue of the situation off camera, but again, they had time off. They had time to take that first game on and think, maybe we can replicate this. Maybe we can try and throw different looks. We can imprint our ideology on this game even further. I think Serchi playing in that second leg, I felt like that was it was a very good decision in the first leg. I feel like she was a bit tired, got a bit lost on that right side. I think Olga Carmona definitely had the better of her. Even when they swapped wings, it got Ona back into the game because Clara was doing a great job anyway. But Anyomi not really presenting any sort of capacity to get on the score sheet in that second leg, whereas she looked a bit more menacing and dangerous in the first. But maybe it is just a midfield battle that got destroyed. I struggle to think of what Vuk could have done in that second leg.
I feel like this game really reminded me, and this kind of whole two legs really reminded me of the Lyon Arsenal game from last year. And insofar as
The second one?
yeah, insofar as you had a really strong first leg, it was very evenly matched.
Yeah.
Take into consideration there were goals in the first leg of the Champions League, and there weren't in this one. But in the next one, you saw a team that was just completely outplayed. Just I feel like there was a level of mentality there that Spain had over Germany. I think you saw a glimpse of that at the end of the game with Bermudez and Vuk kind of having a bit of a Jonas 2.0, Jonas Emma 2.0 situation. I think
any excuse to bring that up.
Yeah, I think to all intents and purposes, I think we're looking at a Spain team that are just now born winners. I just think that they go out there in any final and they think they're going to win. And I think Germany, and I've heard a lot of people say this, look like the team that could go and have a fantastic run in any competition that they have, but there are pieces, there are cogs missing in that team. And to me, what it was they really were struggling in midfield, they were struggling on the right side, and they had no way to distribute in the final third. And I think at that point, it's a question, are the players, fatigued? Is the system fatigued? Like in terms of, are we kind of having a system that is a bit rigid? I saw this in the Euros as well against Sweden in the group stages. There was a system that kind of enabled them to get well through the group stages, and then they played Sweden, who played a completely different style of football, and they were a bit stuck. They were a bit lost. That first 30 minutes was just basically an encapsulation of what would be this game in a 90-minute stretch. And I know a lot of Germany fans would say that it was just a basic 13 minutes of hell, but I think it was pretty much a whole 90 minutes of being outplayed by Spain.
Yeah, and it comes from their leadership, right? So obviously we can talk about Linda Dahlmann being on the bench for both games and having a cameo in that second one, but it's leading from the back as well. So players like Minga, who are always going to play for Germany, when a player like of that importance makes that error for that goal that Spain got in that I think it was the third. I think that was the third goal. It kind of sets the precedent that they're targeting their top players. It's not like they're going after Eula Brand and Searchy. They're going after the youngsters. They're going after the experienced players and saying, you've got to play at our intensity and our level. And look, I know Chelsea fans aren't going to like this, but you could see that Co Nusken was rusty. You could see that she hasn't been football fit in a while because Sonia is not playing her. And that's not taking away from... This is one of the few Chelsea players I'll give my plaudits to all the time. I think Nusken should be starting for Chelsea. I think she's arguably one of the best midfielders in that crop of players. But when you're 24 years old and you haven't started in 3-4 games and you're coming up against the greatest midfield that international football has to offer, you're going to get found out. You're going to struggle to put in defensive contributions and make the passes that you want to make because all your players are getting overwhelmed and swarmed on your side. And even when you switched with Sense, it's hard because you're not the same. You're not the same team. It's a very different performance to when maybe Aitana in that specific context for that first game was still carrying that injury, and that allowed them to have that free roam in the midfield, the freedom that Eula Brand definitely showed as a 10 who roams into those wide positions. But in this game, she kind of looked lost. It looked like they weren't chaining passes as well. And I felt like Vuk's subs just didn't really present me with any sort of mount back into the game.
That's the depth problem for me. I feel like there aren't enough players on Germany's bench that are in the top tiers of women's football. I think you look at Spain and, yeah, sure, actually a majority of their players now, I think it's about 50-50 with the Barca players / the Arsenal player. And,
Barca
so
and then Madrid,
the La Masia Catalonians and then the Spanish. But I think because they have such belief in their system and because it's so, innate within these players, you're not kind of looking at that as a class thing. It's like,
It's it's embedded into the Spanish culture of how they play.
Yeah, and I think German football particularly, if you're not playing at the kind of top tiers, you're not really exposed to that different style of football. I think what you saw from the starting 11, especially in the first match, is a team that was very capable of knowing how Spain was going to play. I feel like, at this point, it's a bit like an open secret how Spain play, how they're going to play. And I think since 2023, we've kind of seen that shift. And I think it's kind of coming to a head now where teams are finally figuring out Spain. And it's like, that's the whole thing, like figuring out Spain. But I don't think they ever will because teams keep losing to them. But I don't know. I thought the second game really showed that a depth problem is an issue for Germany. I think once you see those players kind of level up, age up, I think we'll be dealing with
Zakai is young. Shakira Martinez is still a raw and
playing at West
striker.
Ham,
Exactly. She'll get up there and eventually will be a part of this. But looking to the bench and seeing Alara Settler, who is feeding into that Bayern side, Laura Freigang still not back to her levels that we know.
Well, she didn't play. Did she play in the second? I don't even think she.
No, she didn't play in the. She didn't play in the second game. But like that's what we're looking at as the options on their bench at the moment. And
but I feel like, don't you think it's kind of damning that a player from Hoffenheim, albeit a fine team, a top 4, top 5 team, in Serchi, who I have a lot of faith in, but is very German ball coded. Like she only has played German football. She is for now. Yeah, she's a bit naive to the other styles of football around. She doesn't play Europe. So to me, it's a bit interesting that they chose her, even though I personally rate her.
She was good at I've loved Serchi for the last year and a half watching her play, and the numbers don't lie when it comes to Serchi. Her presentation in Germany is fantastic. The question would be that, Linda Dahlmann has that experience. Why not put her on for the first 45 and get Serchi to finish the game? Because I remember there was moments in the Nations League semi-final where Serchi was playing against France and getting off the back as a super sub and making Salma Basha work like a dog. And she's a physical freak. She's not necessarily the most technically gifted player. She's tall and fast and strong and an aerial threat and good with her feet and rockets the ball. She's kind of got similar qualities to Jule Brand in that way, where I don't think Jule Brand is the most technically gifted player. It's the physical attributes. And I think that's what's been beating Spain for the last 3 years now. It's not technical brilliance, albeit there was tactical brilliance in that first leg. You've got to have the physicality to overwhelm Spain, and it didn't show in that second leg. And we can say that they were leggy, and not you leggy, but missing the fitness that clearly was shown by the youth and the power on those wings for Spain. And Irina Paredes again, Amapi Leon again, the defensive contributions they had, even in the second leg with not a lot of shots, just commanding from even deeper, is just why they continue to win and win and win. And that photo of Jenny Hermoso and Irina Paredes and Alexia together, the basically the holy trinity of La Roja, what they mean to Spanish football is insurmountable. It's unbelievable just seeing Jenny Hermoso lift a trophy in the context of what's happened to her in the last year and a half too is pretty spectacular. And this is again, they're all three of them are above 30 if I'm not mistaken, but they are definitely far from done and far from over. This is a La Roja dynasty that's going to go all the way to the next World Cup in Brazil, and it's definitely might even end up in Germany for 2029 as that got announced as well. But that tournament will be electric, and as England try to go for 3 in a row. But that kind of covers that final. And while that was going on, we had a third place playoff that, albeit was taken quite seriously. I feel like the second leg. Yeah, the second leg was interesting in terms of, the depth was shown in both teams. Yeah. But I mean, the first leg we have to talk. I mean, before we just talk about the legs, should we just talk about who we think the player of the match is in both games?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I mean, look.
Because in my head, it's the same player. In my head, it's the same girl.
I know who you're gonna say.
Yeah.
I have, obviously my goat Stenius in the first leg. Are you crazy?
Are you serious?
She didn't.
It was
win
2-1 France.
I don't care. She didn't win the game, but
It was a good
spiritually-
header. It was a good header from Stina Blackstenius.
Stina plays, right, and she puts her Blackstenius into everything. That it actually shifts the game.
Who is the Black? Puts her Blackstenius? Is it like her foot? Is her foot the Blackstenius?
It's
her aura.
It's the aura. Like what is more Blackstenius than a late winner by some mid-table numpty? Like that is so Blackstenius.
No, Blackstenius would be that Sweden won 1-0 in the first leg and Stina got the 90th minute goal, because that's what she's been doing to my club for the last 4.5 years. But I mean, I don't know if you had to give one to France. If we're taking the Arsenal tinted glasses off, it's Karchaoui. She was. I was going to say yes. Absolutely spectacular across both legs in the 8, moving down, her defensive work, her attacking work. You could argue that a team of Sakina Karchaouis could beat most other teams just because of her ability to play two ways. The ultimate French box le box, as I would say. But I mean, the penalty was excellent. I can't believe she's taking penalties for France.
She's the I think she is the usual.
If Renard is playing, surely she's taking them, though.
I'm trying to think back to the World Cup. I can't remember, but
it's not Diani, it's not Katoto.
No, I do know that during the Euros, she was the one taking them. So
impressive. I mean, yeah, I could see Cascarino taking penalties if she. Nah, she
would definitely sky it. Come on.
Yeah.
NWSL baller.
I mean, she's got a rocket though. But yes, Sakina scores. Stina equalised. I feel like there was a lot of chances created for Sweden. Tony G. I mean, this is what Tony G does, right? He's a chance creation machine. The question is, when you have JRK, Bar, and Schroeder up front, I mean, albeit two players who are going to be incredible footballers, and then one player who I would argue is on the way out of the starting 11 at Chelsea. I'm not going to lie. I do feel bad for JRK because of her ability, but
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I think JRK is arguably one of Chelsea's most consistent players, and Chelsea
I don't disagree,
and Chelsea fans are just like their eyes got like they've got tinted glasses on basically because they expect perfection from their wingers. So she's Swedish.
I mean, but her perfection is her imperfection. Her speed, the amount of worldies she scores compared to just normal regular goals she scores is about 1-to-1. She doesn't really have a patch, like she'll have a purple patch where everything she strikes goes in. But that first leg, it just wasn't her day. And Schroeder is also going to be a player that is going to take over the world. But they just couldn't convert that first half. I think they would have, in my head, it felt like they had double-digit shots in that first half. And seeing Stina and Rolfo on the bench for this first leg just made me think that Sweden don't want the bronze medal. I think they're sick of being third and perennially holding bronze. Like, it's so heavy on them. But I mean, they didn't want it in the 95th minute of a 93-minute game when Mbock, the captain, in play, gets a corner and a half from, yet again, Sakina Karchaoui, and this header goes through, I'm not going to lie, I want to say 83 players, and ends up in the back of the net. I don't know how that ball gets through. I don't know what who was in goal? Was it Falk's in goal?
Falk, yeah, Falk.
Yeah, Falk was in goal. I don't know who was at the back post, but it just wasn't happening for Sweden. But a 2-1 win in that first leg over France. Did you see Sweden going to mount a challenge in that second leg, or was that kind of particularly
they would have mounted
uninspiring?
They would have mounted a challenge if they put out a good team. Tony G. Now I need to look. Tony, this is very. Tony
It's not a 4-4-2 though. Not a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I would look. I think Tony G. this coming in as a new coach in a tournament that you're supposed to, compete in is very difficult, right? I mean, that's obvious. But I just don't understand. You have the players there that put up a pretty decent effort in the first leg. I understand that players are tired, and I understand that you need to take injury prevention into consideration. But I mean, if you're going to put this squad out, you might as well be like coming out to all our doors and showing a big sign going, don't care about this bronze medal. Because it was obvious. It was obvious. France as well, by the way. I mean, France didn't put out their best team in the world, but I mean, I don't know. I felt like Sweden gave it away, and to know what they did to Australia in the bronze medal match, in the World Cup, where they did put out their
they schmised us. That was arguably our worst performance of the World Cup when they killed us.
They really wanted something, yeah. So I think it just goes to show how they take the Nations League. I don't think they care that much.
Yeah, and I mean, it might even be a testament to their lack of their. I mean, I don't know. It's not really a lack of, but this new generation that are hungry for more, but then a older generation who are coming off early in these games, right? So that second leg, which I mean was absolute firepower to start with, and that first half provided a lot of chances for France to try and put the nail in the coffin, albeit not converting, and Falk having a very good first half, and also Natalie Bjorn just being the best. I mean, you could argue she's the second best centre half in the world, very, very easily.
I'd say she's top 5.
Yeah, no question about it. But in this game, she was pushing up the field. She was creating chances for them. The defensive efforts. It's actually insane. I think if I'm not mistaken, she had 10 recoveries and 17 defensive contributions, which is just, I mean, they're numbers you don't really see all the time. And to do that with, I mean, youngster, she's probably the oldest person in that back line, if I'm not mistaken, because Nelage is playing, Sandberg is playing, Smilla Holmberg,
Don't
Arsenal,
even get me started. Don't even get me started on this.
Future Arsenal legend or low knee, Smilla Holmberg, 19 years old, playing in a Nations League third place playoff. I think Olme also did a job. She played really well. But
yeah, I was happy with Olme alongside Lundqvist. I thought that pairing was actually decent. It was a bit unexpected, but I think it kind of helped that they were coming against that France midfield that I didn't see a lot of. I didn't naturally see a lot of. Like,
it's Karchaoui and the gang, really.
It was Karchaoui, and Giora was okay. But
she wasn't bad in that second leg. I feel like in the first leg left a lot to be desired. But
I feel like Giora is absolutely just gassed trying to carry this LCL team. Now do you think
she's regressing her level, or it's the same level as she was at PSG? That's my thing. Is that I think when you're playing with, albeit lesser teammates, not necessarily based on who you're coming up against, but who you're training with. Does your quality decline? I would argue yes, because, I mean, your football is based on your proximity to that. And then, I mean, I kind of do feel bad for Lorena Fazer, who just didn't really present much in that game over the three quarters of an hour. No, she's a bit longer. I think she came off in the 70th. But I just want to know what was going on in Tony G's head when Clara Matteo scored, albeit an absolutely masterful move from Diani. That was by far, in my opinion, the best assist, the best movement of the match. And also the best of the two games. I mean, Pina scored that amazing goal, but this run from Diani to take on Holmberg first, and then absolutely wrong foot Sandberg, play the ball across the box, and then my Paris FC Mount Rushmore face number 1, Clara Matteo, finishes through the keeper at that near post. I mean, the reaction to that goal should not be, let's take off Rolfo. You know what? Rolfo needs to come off, and I'm going to bring on Angadal, and I'm going to bring on Bar, and I'm going to take...
That makes sense. To me, that actually makes sense.
As well. I don't know. In my opinion, you need Rolfo. She's the match winner.
I don't think you take off Rolfo, but I
Yeah.
do think you bring those players on. And I also think you start Cena. I think that's obvious. You start Cena,
Yeah.
you start Anguda. If anything, Anguda will give you presence on a set piece. If anything, right? Cena will give you presence for press resistance. She'll give you presence for the pressure trigger. She'll give you off the ball, off the shoulder runs. To me, you asked the question before, do I think that the standard is dropping? There was one Lyon player in the starting lineup of this French team, which was Diani. There was a backline of 3 PSG players and 1 San Diego Wave player. To me, at this point, you're asking yourself, you look on the other side, you have Manchester United players galore, Chelsea players, you have a Lyon player in there, you have KANG who's been body everywhere. So I asked myself, I don't actually think it was a class thing.
No.
I actually think tactically, but mentally, France just rocked up to that game more than Sweden did.
And this is without you say where are the Lyon players? It's a great question. Katoto not there. Randy Renard not there. Sombath, I believe, on the bench if I'm not mistaken, and coming on very very late just to finish off the game. But the reality is that this is so far from France's top team. I just felt like this kind of showed a depth difference for me that ultimately France can withstand better than Sweden. I think Stina starting, I actually believe I read that she has a bit of a knock. She wasn't fully fit for that second game, hence why she came on in the 100 and something minute. Like, it was very, very late. But
when did Tony G get his red card?
He would have been in extra time, no? Or he wasn't there. But in my head, I feel like Schroeder had to come off, not Rolfo, in that 59th minute. We've had an hour of Schroeder. Yes, she's going to be amazing, but if you're not getting the shots creation, she had no shots in an hour. You're not going to get that.
Yeah, I agree.
Then she's got to go, and that's nothing. Not a knock to her. This is an 18-year-old who is going to be everything. But you keep the best players, the players that have won you things before, the players that have got you to places before on the ground. And I mean, look, the change somewhat worked. I feel like there was a bit of France bottle in that game, because this is what France do very well.
Or Rosa Kafaji. I mean,
yeah, and Evelyn EJ, yeah. This is 2 amazing goals, 2 amazing finishes. The whip from Angadal and JRK respectively for both goals were fantastic, and late on to force this game to extra time. Kafaji's goal probably being the better of the 2.
Oh, well, Kafaji's goal was in the vein of Stina. It was spiritually Stina. I mean, at this point, you got to ask yourself, when is it time? When is it time to bring Rosa back? I'm just putting it out there. We have the mid-season coming up. I don't really actually know how loan systems work. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have absolutely no idea what triggers loan.
Michelle Adjumang is back, so
yeah, but she's done her ACL. What's she going to do?
So why isn't she doing her? But a loan spell is a loan spell. Why aren't you recovering at Brighton? It makes no sense.
I don't know. Look, at this point, I think to myself, where does she fit? And I say fit her anywhere. Fit her anywhere. She's hungry. She's in goal scoring form. I think she's kind of on a run that's a point to prove kind of run. I think she really kind of wants to prove she's kind of gone beyond that, mid, Swedish league ball. She's playing in the WSL. She wants to be starting, and she wants to be starting for Sweden as well. And I don't know. I've always had a lot of faith in Rosa Kafaji, as you know, and I think her goal. I think Sweden's maybe the last 10 minutes of that game. I think they probably played the best out of the whole 2 legs.
Yeah, and ultimately those chances in extra time as well go begging, but the intensity lifted a bit, and it took an unlikely hero for France in Kelly Gargo, who has been dominating for an albeit struggling Everton side, getting the ball lofted to her from Moroni on that left side, and she takes this chance very, very well. It was, across this second leg, it was a lot better from France. I feel like there was more varying opportunities, and now they have different players that they can believe in to finish off games. Obviously, if we go back to the Euros, we're looking at Cascarino, we're looking at Diani, we're looking at Clara Matteo, we're looking at Marie-Antoinette Katoto. But now we're looking at Gago. We're looking at players in the midfield, Karchaoui. We're thinking about the fact that Wendy Renard's going to come back, but then you also have players on the bench who can do the business. Sandy Baltimore, someone that probably should be looking, she will be looking to make that starting squad, whether it's at left back or left wing. I don't know if her days in defence are done, but... And then youngsters who are at Chelsea, like Jean-Francois, who and Sombath at Lyon, who want to break into this side and create that next dynasty, whether that be with Renard in the squad or not.
I think both teams currently are in that kind of, football purgatory. They don't really know whether they're moving on from the old guard or whether they want to start bringing in the new players.
Yeah, the balance.
I think right now, I don't actually think that either team has the greatest depth in the world. And you might be like, wait, they have bowlers coming off the bench and scoring. But if I look at their bench and I look at the players on, and I think to myself, I don't know, I expect a bit more. I kind of want these players to be playing higher. I mean, Kelly Gago is kind of another Evertonian wonder kid, if you like, because, we had Vignola, now we have Gago. But to me, I mean, if you're looking at players like Cascarina to come on, you're looking at players like Baltimore to come on. I don't know. To me, Baltimore's not had a good season. To me, Cascarino this is a player that is fantastic, but is pretty much past it in the elite levels of football, albeit a fantastic Euros. And then you have really, really young players coming on, like 18, 19-year-olds, and you're expecting them to kind of rock up. If this were
Sangare is young, is very, very young. And
Sombath is young.
Yeah, exactly. Sombath is... I mean, again, this is under 23s. We're looking at a team that, I mean, Mallard even had a role to play in that first leg. In the second leg,
didn't come on.
Again, I feel like the fitness, albeit wasn't particularly a question in these games, because they were kind of rotated as if it was like 1-to-1. You're going to play in either the first leg or the second leg, and it didn't happen for some players and it did for others. And I don't know. I think it is a question when I'm looking at that France backline. I don't think any of those players, especially in the four, whether the goalie is whether Peru Magnon has always been the number one, but when you're looking at that back four, you could argue that there's a whole different back four for France that would play ahead of them.
I think De Almeida is the only one.
De Almeida probably, but not in centre half. Not in centre half. I think Lacroix is better than Mbock right now. Obviously Mbock's accolades in history trumps Lacroix, but Lacroix has been fantastic for Real Madrid across this season, and De Almeida, and then you have, I mean, I still question whether, if they want to play more progressive football, I think and if you want the best of Guilloro, that's an overlapping fullback on the left side, allowing Guilloro to be that cover on the left side. So I don't see why Baltimore couldn't play left back for this Bonaday team, but I don't know. I'm not Bonaday. I'm not the manager of Le Bleu, and I think there are questions to be said when France come into every tournament as a team that's supposedly trying to win more than they have and reach semi-finals and finals time and time again, but not hitting the mark. And obviously we know why, but the question is, do we rock the boat? Do we move it, or are we happy with where we are? And I think this bronze medal is an indicator that they are capable of more. They weren't that far away from Germany in that first leg. It was Clara Ball being Clara Ball, and that was the difference. But I think France are definitely a team, and this kind of goes cross codes in the fact that this is the team that could easily take over football in a few years' time. It's just a matter of when and how. And I think this third place finish will be an interesting indicator of what is to come.
Well, they were second last year. So to me, this is a regression.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that you can have all the talent in the world. You can have all the hype in the world. But if you're having a manager ice out Wendy Renard, really struggle with communication when it comes to players, kind of keep playing this system, which I don't think is necessarily benefiting his best players, I think that there's a problem there. And I think that that's the curse of Le Bus. There is a curse there now where it's like the expectation is never reached. They actually put too much pressure on themselves. Like I need them to like just be chill and maybe enter a tournament where you're like, the shackles are off. Let's just play ball. Like let's just go out and play football. And I think Tascarino is like a real like kind of endemic of that. She went into the Euros. She's like,
just balled out.
I'm just gonna ball out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very stark difference between her and like Antoinette Katoto, who just didn't really fire on all cylinders the way she can, and hasn't really this year. But I mean, she will come back into this side, and we'll see what the expectations, whether they change or not, and how we think of them going in to the run to Brazil in 27. You were talking about France developing new styles and developing team chemistry. I want to shift that conversation of team chemistry to this team up there. So we're done with these two. We're going to go right up here to the Matildas, who had two legs. I'm not going to call them legs. It was two friendlies against New Zealand's women's national football team.
I would actually like to call it an 180-minute battering.
180-minute battering.
Like an absolute cricket bat. The Ashes are on. It is a cricket bat to the face of the New Zealand FA. Boom, boom. There is
Mateta's
no way,
in the room.
There is no way that you can tell me that New Zealand team showed up and genuinely wanted to pose a threat to the Matildas. Now, the second leg in inverted brackets was better, but the first leg was
a disaster.
Oh my God. And I didn't even like the Tillies. And even I was like, actually, you know what? Just for the sake of football, I might actually have to root for you guys.
Yeah, it was a stark contrast in ability, in speed. I don't even want to go there that much, but fitness, they looked slower than the Matildas, and this wasn't the fastest lineup we could have put out. Personally, I feel like
Amy Sawyer on.
Yeah, Amy Sawyer was on, and look, if you ask me, I think if you want the fastest lineup, it also doesn't come with the way in which Caitlin Ford is currently playing at the moment, albeit one of our best players is going to start every time. But it wasn't our fastest team by any stretch of the imagination. Claire Wheeler's faster than Katrina Gorry by that metric, but we just looked so much quicker than them across the park. Saya opened the scoring. I feel like it was a pretty routine goal, playing her in, and she took it well, which is what I expect from her, by the way. I remember in her not her first game, maybe her second game, her debut goal, I feel like it took her a while to get off the mark, but this is kind of what I want to be expecting from Amy Sawyer, where she
does ball out. I feel like out of the two exports over to, I forgot what the team's called.
What? Lina Koppig?
Yeah, I feel like she was arguably the biggest beneficiary of kind of that Euro ball immersion. I kind of hope that she stays in Europe.
I saw that interview. I believe she had an interview where she said she wants to stay in Europe. And I think that is a good indicator of like, that is a better attitude to have, because I mean, our track record of players in Europe who want to stay in Europe is,
how many now? How many now have
I mean, I don't want to get up the list, but Chloe Lagazzo is about to be added to that list. The next goal goes out to a player who just loves playing in the green and gold. Arguably the greatest international baller there is in comparison to their club form or club availability. But Hayley Raso absolutely ripping a goal that had no goalie in the net. I mean, the fact that I have to say this about two goals where Raso and Carpenter's goal were just, there was no keeper in the net. There's not much I can say about their finish other than the fact that our build-up play looks a lot better. Our ability to facilitate triangles that build into attacking positions, whether it's at the edge of the box, we might not have the best ball strikers to be able to hit it, but the box crashes are coming in and we're getting second effort chances, and I think that is what Jomo wants, and I think that that's an exciting precedent to see for the Matildas.
I think for the Matildas, the level of consistency that needs to be had when coming into a tournament is very, very, like, it's an imperative, basically.
Of course, it's important. Yeah.
And I think that the Federation have shot themselves in the foot, and I genuinely think so. You can't play these teams have one genuine opposition being England, and then, games of international breaks before that being the likes of Chinese Taipei, Wales to an extent. We played the Philippines. We played every small Asian nation under the sun, except
And Wales.
yes, and Wales, except for Japan. And this is my problem, because there is a false sense of security coming into a tournament that that the Australians, their last tournament that they participated in, they got grouped. I'm not expecting them to get grouped in the Asia Cup, but I do think that there is a level of insecurity when it comes to tournament football that I think the Matildas, and they like to say, we treated the first game like it was the first round of the group stage, the second game like it was the second round. And I say to Alana Kennedy, to Jomo, to the people kind of espousing this, that's not the level that you're going to get. That's not the pressure that you're going to get at an Asian Cup. And I think that the Federation is doing a disservice to these players by putting them under little to no pressure in a tournament that they expect to win and have expected to win.
It's hard. It's hard because it lines up with the Nations League, so they can't really come up against.
They can play
a lot of no. I
understand.
No. I understand that. So the other, I want to specifically mention Europe. So firstly, you can't really come up against a lot of the European top teams that you learn from to get better.
Well, there were 4 teams in the Nations League.
No. But then you have the European teams that went up in friendlies that we're going to talk about later. But the issue you have is geography. The Federation shoots itself in the foot, no question. But flying 15,000 kilometres for the FA schedule and for other teams' federation schedules just doesn't. We're just on the other side of the planet physically.
A majority of your so I understand that other teams coming here is a bit stupid.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a big issue in terms of our availability to bring them here. When we can go there, and we went to Wales and we went to England, and those were the teams that were available to us. It's not like we can just do a tour and start, and because of how like turgid the weeks are, you can't just come up against Switzerland or Denmark and get the experience against a Pernille Harder or the Leah Volti and have homework done for you, right? Going over to Canada becomes the same question for them to come to us or for us to come to them.
To me, it's so that
Japan is a lot closer. Japan is a lot closer, by the way.
But Brazil went to Norway. Like, I'm just saying, if you are a top level opposition, as you exposed to be, you are the top 15 in the world or whatever. Play and by
you don't have to convince me. The FA 100% shoots itself in the foot. Yeah,
and it's not just that. You're going to be playing with 40, 50,000 people in the stadium. The attention that brings, the money that brings is insane. So
the expectations are incredibly high. You talk to any Woso Matildas fan, even a fringe Matildas fan, they'll tell you that we have to win this thing. And it's not going to come through performances like that where we don't learn anything. And there are patterns of play that do look better, and I'm excited for the sharpness of the European ballers plus our players who probably should be European ballers to combine and do that. But I mean, I'll just finish off the game very, very quickly. I have to shout out EVE, Emily Van Egmond, for I would say, I mean, I can't think of a better assist in my entire life. So EVE, I can't remember what minute it is. It might be like 60 something, 70th minute mark. She's shielding off like a Hulk, a beast of a New Zealand defender. And then she just sees, actually, I don't even think she looks. The intuition was there. She sees the vision, like a speck of Karchaoui cross there, and she just flings this no-look brilliant pass that somehow manages to get Karchaoui cross the easiest tap-in I've ever seen in my entire life. The pass from EVE is sublime. Do you have anything else to say?
I actually think it's offensive that they didn't put EVE's name on the score sheet.
It was ridiculous.
It was basically that was the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They people are talking about the wrong part of that goal. Obviously, there was a beautiful pass. There was beautiful build up before that. I feel like Karchaoui cross just has the easiest parts of that entire goal, and she kind of made it look quite hard. I'll be honest. I feel like she could have put it less top bins.
As I was going to say, the audacity of getting it, like hitting the post and then going in. I mean,
it was an open net. It was an open net. It was the easiest strike that you could ever live. All right, the clip is done now. Okay, what a fucking goal.
I know, what a goal. Geez.
What a goal from Karchaoui Cross.
And you know what? I've had enough, because at this point, right?
Yeah.
Where is that shit for Arsenal? And I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to take this. Renee's system wants build up. Renee's blah, 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 blah. I don't care. We play enough transition ball to have Kyra pick up the ball, look up, and I don't even
whack it.
It's not even that I even expect a goal. Ping a lateral like that. Ping a vert like that. Do something like
crossfield pass right to Bethany Mead.
Exactly. Please, but like, to me, this is where I find the disparity between Tilly's ball and club ball. It's like infectious. It started with Hayley Rasso. It's seeping into KCC.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It just happens. Well. It just happens. There's Tilly's fever. They play till they die, and then they're dead. And then they're dead for club ball. The carcass is running. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, my favorite part was that immediately about 24 hours after that goal, your TikTok about Karchaoui Cross gets obviously this is a 2-month-old TikTok, gets a comment saying, "Did you see her goal against New Zealand? Mariona and Little could never, and Perlova could never." I'm like, I mean, Mariona would have. Yeah, I feel like we could have. Yeah, I feel like we could have. We could find that.
They did that 2 seasons ago.
I think there's a bit of recency bias there, but yes, I understand. Karchaoui Cross does this about once every 13, 14 games.
First it was once every 50 games, and she's kind of shortened it now to like one every like 5 or 6.
Yeah, and that's great, but this is a kind of goal that gets talked about in the guise of. Oh, okay, so she can do this. What about the facets of the game that you are playing for? You are an 8. You're a box-to-box. Are you setting up players the way Holly McNamara was when she came on? And, I mean, I think Holly Mac is the number 1 striker. I just do. I think for Joe Montemuro's system, for the other players around them, the build-up play, the way she plays with her back to the goal, the way she can hit one-touch strikes with both feet, she is a total 9 in the sense of the realm of where she plays. I'd like to see her do it abroad, albeit there is a time and a place for that. That will come, and we know it will come. But that last goal was the epitome of our level shown. I think that was the best goal, Katrina Gorry's goal, and the build-up play was sublime, and Gorry just passes it into the net, which is exactly what we want to see.
I think if we're kind of moving on to the next game and about that Sam Kerr kind of situation, the predicament that Jomo is in, I think about the Alana Kennedy goal, and I think about that throw in, the bring down.
Sam's role in that goal is important. Yeah.
But I think, look, I appreciate that is Sam's role, and the distributor now is kind of what she's going to be known as in the Tillies. She's not taking on, she took some shots on, but she's not going to be that elite.
She's not the juggernaut. She's
basically entered her Michelle Heyman era, right? For all intensive purposes. Yes, don't give me that face. She's entered the Michelle Heyman era, right? Of being a two-dimensional baller, which in my opinion she always has been, but you know, I can be proven wrong sometimes. But to me, there is a level of inevitability when it comes to Holly Mack, whether it be because her runs are so powerful and so direct, whether it be because she's innately creative, whether that be because she can play across the forward line. I find that if the Tillies are going to have any success in scoring goals and scoring a lot of goals in the Asia Cup to build that confidence, you want that across the board. And I understand Sam Kerr will probably be that. I understand her scoring a goal will be very big, similar to what happened in 23 against England. But I feel like Holly Mack, she just needs that moment, you know, and I hate to bring it back to the men, but it's a bit of like a Juric situation in 2015, right? It's a player that's balling out in the A-League, right? You know, not necessarily a starter, comes on and brings that energy and finishes the game off.
It's authentically Australian football. I feel like there is, I mean, we don't really talk about this because it's kind of the elephant in the room where European footballers that are Australian kind of get domesticated to play a style of football that is the antithesis to our country, right? So when I watch Mitch Duke play. I mean, compared to Tommy Rogic when I was a child, it shows the players who play in Europe versus the players who play in Australia, and then that happens for players who are international that come to Australia to play dub ball in that way. There is something Australian about the way G Fink played. Besar Barisha, you would know better than me that these players get acclimatized to the football of the geography, right?
I think that they develop a Australian identity when playing. Yeah. I think that identity comes from that never die whatever it is till I die thing, right? Yeah. I think it's a bit of that, but I also think it's a bit of recognizing that you may not be the best on the field technically, but you're going to give it a go and you're going to try.
And that's Claire Wheeler is, in my opinion, is someone who has taken Ausball to Europe. That's her game. Yeah. Her game is disruptor, but also the energy. And again, I mean, Ellie Carpenter is just an athletic freak, and I feel like there is now. She has created a conversation, which that's what I like about Ellie Carpenter. She's going to facilitate conversation about what the team will look like the more she pushes up the field, whether she's an
Australian
option.
Player? Do you think Ellie Carpenter is the best?
I think if every Australian player is on their day, currently fit, yes. I'm gonna stand by Mary Fowler being the total footballer, being the best total footballer. I'm going to stand by Steph Catley being the most consistent Australian footballer with no bad games to my recollection. But Ellie Carpenter, as the form currently sits, if I had to choose who's the best player right now for Australia, I think it's her, and her performances within tournaments show that to another level. I think she does level up in these big occasions, and I think this tournament for her is a possibility to be a player of the tournament. If we win this thing, she's going to be a part of it. There's no way she's not. And I think Sam Kerr, I mean, I'm going to make 2 dimensions 3 dimensions, and there was a time where it was 4 dimensions. She was a 4-dimensional striker. She could do it. Now there is a level of speed that has vanished.
Literally gone.
No, it's not gone. It is vanished. And the more minutes she gets, the more there are remnants. There are little particles of it. But it's the big part of the game that I want to come back, which is why you're calling her 2-dimensional instead of 3, is her heading, her aerial ability, which is all I think about with Sam Kerr. The stuff in the air that she usually wins, sets down for other people, or scores is not there right now. It's not there right now. We now look at Ellie Carpenter and Caitlin Ford crossing them in, Rasso now cutting more inside, but the balls are along the ground. They're not whipping the ball in high because they don't trust her to win the header. Or maybe they want different avenues to goal. Maybe Jomo doesn't want that. But if I had Sam Kerr up front, I'm crossing the ball to her. That's her bread and butter is aerial ability. And when you're coming up against New Zealanders who you can barrel over, this is the time. If we're going to come up against Japan, a less physically gifted side than us, they're more technically brilliant than us, and we'll talk about Japan eventually. That is how we're gonna win this game through either Ellie Carpenter brilliance, Hayley Rasso brilliance, or the striker who's been doing it for us for the last better half of a decade. This is how we're going to win. This is who's the players who are going to win us finals. It's Sam Kerr in the air. It's not Sam Kerr on the ground running near post, flicking the ball with her right foot as a back heel through the goalie. That's old Sam Kerr. We're talking about Sam Kerr that still can exist. You whip it on her head, the power she has that she can generate from a Alessia Russo style cross where she does that thumping header. That's what I picture. I can see that still being able to be done. Whether it's off a standing jump or a running jump is a different question. But I think there wasn't much to learn about Sam Kerr's range of ability over these 2 legs. I think there was more learnt about McNamara. There was more learnt about EVE and her role to play in this team, because albeit there is going to be a phasing out of this old guard, I feel like EVE still kind of has a little bit of remnants, a little bit of juice to give us in the Asia Cup, and I can see a goal for her in that tournament, definitely as like a send-off. But
EVE plays like a player who is tall, not like a tall player. if you know what I mean. She plays like a player who knows that she's tall and so
Yeah.
will be able to kind of boss herself, bully herself around rather than a poor player. Like if she was
But she doesn't pretend to be something she's not. She knows
No,
her
and
ability. She comes on and does the job.
And I think look, I bag players for being anachronistic all the time. I think like there is a part of football where you kind of are outgrown. And I think Sam Kerr is outgrown. I think we've outgrown Sam Kerr. Does she still have a role in this Tilly's team? Yes, because it's tournament football and you need impact players. England showed that. But I also realize that if you don't fade players in like Holly Mack more into your game, more into your system, then you're going to be playing a style of football that does not sit right with them, does not suit them. And so I think you can't be playing, Sam Kerr ball when you don't have Sam Kerr and you don't have prime Sam Kerr. And I think we don't want to fall under this illusion that, Sam Kerr is the same Sam Kerr because it'll just come to bite us.
I mean, I will stand by Holly Mack every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. But I think there is always going to be a level of meritocracy and just full on federational pressure to facilitate Kerr in. And the reality is that I'm not saying Kerr can't do it. I haven't seen it just yet in this arduous process of her being built back into fitness. I don't even see her as the second or third best striker for Chelsea anymore. I don't. I think if Mayra Ramirez comes back, there will be serious questions asked based on age, power, precision, necessity to play, the fear factor that you put into a team. I'm much more scared right now of Mayra Ramirez when we play them in about 6 weeks. I'm much more scared of Ramirez coming back and doing what she did to us last season in that 2-0 win over us than Sam Kerr has offered only marginal goals in games where they were already ahead, or just not providing any semblance of not the old Sam Kerr, but a 7.5 out of 10 Sam Kerr that we know is, I believe, capable. It's just a question of when or if it doesn't exist anymore. We need to reevaluate that the Sam Kerr barometer of what she's capable of, which I think is hard because we have seen a level, and she has seen a level. I think she's quite hard on herself and her ability to produce a level of what was Sam Kerr, not a level of what is Sam Kerr right now. Across the ponds, and we move to the two legs again in friendly matches between Italy and the Yanks. Emma Hayes' Yank ball fantasy, where they won 3-0 and 2-0. Oh, actually, we didn't even say Rasso scored in that second game, by the way. Alana Kennedy, great goal. We didn't actually mention that at all, by the way. Alana's ice mesh ball in goal, fantastic finish.
We mentioned the Alani goal.
But we didn't mention Rasso's second goal, which was fantastic, by the way. And she just does it again. It was that right foot, edge of the box, the strike. It was the one where the goalie had her hand up and then just dived really weirdly, and it went past her, and Rasso just had it.
I even watched the whole game. I watched both 90s.
It was a great finish. Rasui, just too good. Just Ronaldo in a Tilly's top, basically. Okay. But the US women's national team, Emma Hayes doing the absolute business against Italy. 3-0 in the first leg. We will talk about that first. Obviously, Olivia Moultrie's goal set up by the one, the only Cincinnati Go. That is Rose Lavelle on the wing.
Okay, so this goal is fantastic. The setup is fantastic.
The whole move is brilliant.
The whole move
Jesus.
is fantastic. I love, why I love Rose Lavelle? Because of the cutback. It's because of the cutback. I love cutbacks. Yeah. But can we talk about the back heel? I don't know. Did you see this?
Earlier on in the phase.
Oh my God, the back heel. Yeah. The audacity. No other player is trying that in the US system except for Roosevelt and maybe Lily Johannes, right? Maybe.
I was gonna say there is a moment in that second game where Lily does that back heel and Megs the Italian defender. I mean, they literally no form of any semblance of offense to Italy here, but they made spaghetti out of you. Like, they absolutely grinded you up and they were stunting on you. They were doing dances. They were 6-7ing all over the place. They were just full on. They were full on taking the piss out of this game and were just loving every minute of it. And Olivia Moultrie is a testament to that, because that's her bread and butter. That's where she wants the ball, and she strikes that ball from a good 17, 20 yards, and it plows into the net. That's exactly where she wants the ball. Macario's goals, left foot, right foot, edge of the box, side netting. This is, again, we said it before, we said it earlier in the year. When Macario is on, there's no stopping her. She is so good. But, I mean, the first goal is not really her goal. Like, it's a great finish, but Sam Coffey just decided, screw this, I'm going to run through your whole team. And, I mean, how many times have we seen Sam Coffey take this ball and just be like, fine, I'll do it myself?
Yeah, well, my question coming out of this game, but just like kind of the whole vibe of the last, I'd say like 6 to 12 months of the USA, maybe bar one Portugal mistake, basically. It was
they lost 2 games this year, didn't they? Just
I question, is this USA team as intimidating as the World Cup winning teams?
No, absolutely not.
Because I disagree. I really disagree. I think that there's a level of intimidation that the USA innately have. I think coming on home turf, I think the fact that you're asking your opposition to kind of come at you, because you are so attacking, the lineup is such an attacking lineup, you're asking your team to go, you know what, like, actually try and break us down here, because we will come at you and we'll keep coming at you. I think that the mentality, I think what Emma Hayes has instilled within these players, just thinking back to 2023, the 360 that's happened, also recognizing that the front three is a completely different front three than who won the Olympics on their own boots, right? I don't know. I find that this team, to me right now, I hate to admit it, but it's intimidating. And I think that intimidation can win you a World Cup, because like what happened with the Euros with England, there is a level of, sure, you like to call it like aura, right? But it's true, right? If you feel like you're going to win something, if you have such belief in yourself, you can do it. And these friendlies, these games, what they're packing up in domestic leagues, for these players, I feel like that there is a goal that Emma Hayes has set. And I have no doubt that the USA are going to be back on their pedestal, frustratingly, to all of us.
I mean, look, I will say, so let me rephrase what I'm when I say no, I'm saying purely on the crop of players. If you're asking me whether Andonovski is a scarier manager to come up against than Emma Hayes, no, absolutely not. Emma Hayes is a scary manager to come up against, no matter who you are. And that is going to be the question of the ages, is when she comes into this tournament. This is still new. She is new to international ball. She is new to tournaments. She hasn't come up against the greatest of international opposition. She hasn't
But
had
do you
to
think that she's
tap
playing
into
differently?
that.
Do you think she's playing differently? Do you think that the approach is different?
I think there is I think there is naturally a different approach to international tournaments.
Sure.
Whether I mean, if you ask me, when she was at Chelsea, she utilised her depth completely, and that is very reminiscent of this US women's national team crop, where the scariest part of this team is the depth.
Agree.
But the less scary part of that team is how you pick that first 11, because if you ask 11 different US women's national team fans what they have, I think you could get 11 completely different teams, because there are players that are, as we said, when we're talking about Sweden and France, I still think there is, like, England and Spain are on that A+ tier. I feel like then there's this A and A- tier where I think Germany and the US are kind of on that A flat tier, and then A- is kind of your France's, your Sweden's, your Brazil's, right? Yeah, great. That's your kind of like your 6, your pyramid of 7, right? The US women's national team has immense depth where, okay, Moultrie goes down, Shaw comes in. You won't feel the difference, right? Lavelle goes down, they'll move someone through. It won't be the same.
Johannes can come on.
But Johannes can play, right? They have depth. the starting 11, the best 11 that you can come up with for the US has a backline that is gettable. I mean, not necessarily in by Italy, but from a top tier side, I believe Naomi Girma is not playing every game for Chelsea. This is a player that will come into tournaments not fully seasoned, not coming off a tournament in that way.
I think she had a very, very good first game. I will admit.
I mean, no, she's a fan. I'm not taking anything away from Naomi Girma. She's an amazingly gifted footballer. You don't really go for $1 million or whatever you are as a centre half if you don't believe in the ability to do so. But I don't particularly think that Wiesner, Bug, Dickey, Emily Fox is great, but it's not the scariest backline to come up against, right? This is a team that isn't the. I mean, if you brought the prompt up. Are you as scary as O'Hara and Sauerbrunn? In my opinion, no, I don't think so. I think
they're legacy makers, though. They're legacy makers.
I understand that comes with the connotation of they won it, right?
Hindsight,
were they? Yeah, exactly. Hindsight is 2020, and in this case, 2019. But ultimately, I think yes, I will look at this team very, very differently if they win something, right? Girma becomes a World Cup winner if they win this thing, right? And Emily Fox becomes a World Cup winner, Champions League winner, right? This is a different conversation. But I think if I'm going star power for star power, player for player in the starting 11, I think you get more of 2019 in the depth. If you go to the bench, I think you might see a lot of the newfound crop get through, because the way in which Hayes is setting them up is as if there is no first 11. You earn it. There is meritocracy in this structure, and albeit that is something I find impressive about Emma Hayes, is that there are no prisoners. If Rose Lavelle has 3 bad games, it's not like she's going to be playing again for a while for this team. If Alyssa Thompson has a 007 moment again, she won't be playing for the US women's national team, because there are other players just as young, just as fast, just as hungry, who want to go in and be a part of, again, the confidence builder that is Emma Hayes, who's saying, guys, we have the squad to make a World Cup final or even win it. If you want to come with me and be a part of it, that's your prerogative. That's how you play. And I think that is the best thing you can really say about a manager, ultimately, is that she sets the level. It's not like you're relying on the players on the field to set the level. She's setting the expectation of where she sees the players, and those players are delivering on that front. And that's why I struggle to compare them to that. We're going to call it the golden generation of the US, but I think Emma Hayes is more scary. I don't know if the team is, but Emma Hayes' precedent, what she did, especially in that second leg. If we're gonna move to that, but I mean, Lily Johannes. Well, if we're gonna finish off the first leg, Lily Johannes fed Macario for that third goal, but again, nothing but small chances for Italy in the second half of that first leg.
And then Lily Johannes starts in the next game.
Yeah, in the second game.
And to me, that's where, as you mentioned earlier, the depth comes in. Yeah. And to me, Lily Johannes, I think that was one of her best games in a US jersey. And I think that just goes to show that you can be playing all around the world. You could be at different clubs playing in different systems. But when they come together as a unit, there's a level of belief in the Yank ball, basically, just that belief in how they play and the American system, and the fact that I think a lot of teams now domestically are actually looking to bring in that Yank ball rather than change it. I think that's kind of been a thing throughout the history of Yank ball, right? Like, teams want to bring that style in. So when they then get put in a system where everyone knows how to play, Lily Johannes, in all intents and purposes, is a bit of like a white horse in the system. She's not necessarily like, the most Yankified player. As we know, she started in the Dutch leagues. She is a Euro baller, right? But to me, she's molded so well into this system, molded so well to Emma Hayes' system, that I feel like she's been playing with the Yanks and with Yank ball for eons, despite starting in the Dutch systems. It's actually quite impressive. And I think she makes the whole system, which is 1,000 times better.
Well, I mean, for Giraldez, she played at the start of the season in the 6, and in the hole and being that metronome dictator. She's now kind of moved a little bit into that double pivot into the 8. And then for Emma Hayes, she's just said, nah, screw that. You're going to be in the 10. You're going to play further forward because you have the technical brilliance of a winger and you have the football IQ of a 6, and you are just going to you're going to do these flashy... she's given her the confidence to be like, take on everything. Flick the ball through players' legs. Meg whoever you want and backheel and take shots on, because I'm giving you the platform to be able to be your best and most authentic footballing self. And, I mean, if you're asking me what would I say to Emma Hayes to make your 3 in midfield, I think it's pretty easy right now. I think Lilia Harness has made it relatively easy alongside Lindsay Heaps and Sam Coffey. That's your 3 in midfield, and Lavelle comes on as the impact sub in the 10. And if your Harness is struggling as a younger player, then you bring on the experience that is Rose Lavelle, because, I mean, her track record now is a joke. But Macario is the question, right? So Macario is probably going to be that. He's looking like the striker for them, that false 9 that Sonia refuses to acknowledge or play in that realm. But the goals she's scoring, the way in which they're playing, is so much more isolated for Macario to do one-on-one work. I feel like with Sonia there is much more rigidity in the way in which she moves. It's more linear and direct and angles and cutting through. Whereas Emma Hayes is just saying, if you want to pick up the ball from 30, 25 yards, run a little bit, and then chip the keeper from this ridiculous angle, then you're going to do that. That's the goal you're going to score. And obviously it comes down to opposition you play. But your wingers cut inside so much. When you have Jaden Shaw or Alyssa Thompson or Sears coming off the bench, like it's just so, there's so many options that they have, but they all want goals. It's not like they all want to hug the byline and whip it in. But I just think this second squad that comes on the field when you have Sears and Bethune and Howell and and Patterson, like, these are players who want the first team. They want the first team. They're young, they're hungry, and they want to play. And it's not Emma, it's not Sonnet, it's not Moultrie, it's not Lavelle, who kind of you expect to be starting.
I don't really expect Moultrie to be starting. I think Moultrie's in that kind of same boat as
I think she wants to be, though. I think she wants to be.
Sure. I understand that. But honestly, the question for me is Jaden Shaw. Because I don't see a reality where Jaden Shaw doesn't play on the right. Because I just don't think Trinity Rodman, right now in current form, I think Jaden Shaw is a better footballer and a better player. And I don't see how you can replace Jaden Shaw on the flank. Like, if you're asking for that style of player, which they actually are very similar, I don't think that Trinity Rodman, in the current predicament that you have her in, where she's constantly being injured, it's actually been detrimental to her game. She has actually changed her game because of the injury. I actually think that the gusto that Jaden Shaw has, it is so American, and I know that Emma Hayes loves that. I just know it. So I see in the coming games, Alyssa Thompson, Jaden Shaw, that kind of 2-punch system really working well for the US.
No, it's a team that will always present a favourability. They will always mount a challenge for any international tournament they partake in. I just wonder whether the latter, the 9, 10, and 11th best player in their starting 11, and there are Achilles heels. I can see there are potentials if Lindsay Heaps goes down, then the drop off is massive, right?
You don't think that the midfield can just move around?
I think the role she plays is particularly hard to replace. I think Sam Coffey, Lilia Harness, they play so much better when she's on the field because of the attention that Lindsay Heaps presents as an aerial threat, as an edge of the box threat, as a creator, like a total footballer in the natural sense. There are drop-offs in positions where if one player goes down, it's not an instantaneous replacement. But the wingers and the front four they're good. They're so sorted.
They have
a crop of 8 that will be able to hold them through. And I think that would be Emma Hayes licking her lips, being able to choose the front four that she wants to play, her classic 4-2-3-1 that's very modernized and fresh and fluid, right? This is the Hayes ball we've known to see for a long, long time. And she doesn't have to play regressive, arduous tactics that she had to in club ball, because that's what you have to do to get over the line. It's a bit more different. There's a little bit more ideology that comes into international presentation because of the lack of time you have with the players. I think that helps the ideology come through in single one-off games. But speaking of single one-off games, England, the Lionesses, I mean, I know they played two, but the one-off game against China, actual friendlies, by the way, thank God it wasn't 2 legs against China, but my God, this was a stat pad if I've ever seen one. Jesus, shemazes.
So this had a little bit of Aussie ball history. Ante Milicic is the coach of China.
Love that.
Did a terrible job on the night,
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah.
Now a lot of England fans have been justifying the fact that they've been doing a bit of a Tillies and playing weaker oppositions as of late, bar obviously, of course, us, the Tillies.
Yeah.
But I do think that this game was so unnecessary. I just think it is. I don't understand.
Packed out stadium, 87,000 at Wembley. Yeah, 87,000 at the Wembley Stadium to watch an 8-0 bombardment of goals. Beth Mead on the score sheet twice, I believe. Georgia Stanway with a hat trick.
Oh my God, Beth Mead, Ben. I can't do it anymore. She rocks up to these England games playing prime football, like 1 touch, 2 touch, so instinctive in front of goal.
She's a different breed when it comes to that England kit.
And I can't see that drastic of a system change between how Renee plays and how Serena plays. It just has to be the distribution to her, like the role that she plays in the team. I think Beth Mead has always been a goal scorer for England, always. She is a winger, but I think she takes up that kind of 9 position so well because she's kind of in that pocket a lot. So we kind of relegate Mead off to the wing a lot. We like to keep her wide. I think maybe the problem has been, and I've actually posited it to you, moving her centrally, moving her more central and actually getting her in front of goal. The strike that she had, the volley, the half volley, she just bombs that into the goal. That is a striker's goal. That's not a winger's goal. It's a striker's goal. I don't see a reality where Beth Mead isn't on the score sheet if we don't play her. If we play her centrally. I mean,
it would. This would solve a relatively non-issue that Arsenal have, which is
we need to score goals. No.
I'm saying like if you want to play her essentially in a 10-ish role. Or as a roaming right winger, we can play two. Comes into the middle.
We can play 2 strikers.
You can play 2 up front. That's fine, but I think that's a different question because you'd need someone on the right still, and then that would be Liv Smith and Ford, I assume, or Kelly in a flat 4, which I don't see Kelly particularly thriving in a flat 4.
She's done it before.
No, I'm not saying she hasn't. I'm just saying her best games are when she's in a 3, right? She wants to 1v1 ISO the left back. I think Beth Mead's is a vibe, and yes, okay, fine. We're playing China 8-0. You score 2 goals in 2 minutes. Sure, amazing. That's your prerogative. When you come up against a better team, whether she's starting or you have Hempo and Kelly on either side, or Jess Park, who's playing the best levels of football that she's shown, who can also play off the right, or you have players like you have Tooney and Russo centrally. There is no conceivable world for England where she moves centrally. Whether she moves centrally for Arsenal is a question that Renee has to put on the table. I think while she's still attributing assists to Arsenal's campaign, whether it be winners or not is a different question. I think it's a lot of work. It should have been done over the off season, right? This should have been a conversation halfway through last year's off season, saying, you know what, we don't have a 6. We need more midfield. We need more central presence to counteract the fact that we're going to be playing a 2. And Kim Little is 38 million years old, and and you need to be able to facilitate for players' individual strength. But I can recognize as Beth Mead cuts in centrally to score goals, whether her ability to have the IQ to move centrally to start with and find herself in occupied spaces, given her mobility has been an issue for the last 2 years now, I think it becomes becomes a conversation of what does Renee actually want Beth Mead to do for us this season, and I tend to think, as many Arsenal fans I've spoken to, yourself included, that you are going to squeeze out the last lemon juice that is of MBE Mead, right? This is what once was a top 5 player in the world who can't play to that level anymore, knows that, and still delivers a level of football that is more than capable at a top 4 side, top 3 side in the WSL. The question is, will it get you over the line in games compared to a player like Chloe Kelly or Liv Smith? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, while Beth Mead is still assisting goals, still creating chances, still potentially winning matches for club and country. I mean, if we're talking specifically about the 8-0, she had her mitts on it very early and then was setting up the pass to assists. Ella Toon had 3 assists this game, none of which were particularly immensely genius, but the build-up play against an albeit rough side is between Walsh and Mead and Tooney in that triangle is electric. And then Stanway becomes the beneficiary of that triangle on the other side because she gets unmarked. Hempo gets a goal. Tooney gets a goal. Russo gets a goal. It was an 8-0 murder of China. And then the Ghana game kind of just shows the depth that Serena is trying to develop. Yeah. I mean, this is genuinely a second squad with Walsh and Lucy Bronze. That was the only 2 I think that would make the first 11. I mean, if you want to argue Aggie, I mean, and you're a rampant Chelsea fan, I think you're silly, but good for you. Kelly came off in the 23rd minute, I believe, through injury.
Yeah, she got a knock. I don't know how serious it is. Yeah, these international windows have killed our wingers.
Yeah, and it was who else got a knock? Someone else got a knock for Arsenal, wasn't it?
Well, we got Cena. We got last one we had Kelly Smith, Kelly now.
But there was someone else in another game.
Was there someone else?
Remember. I feel like there was one more. But you got knocks. But Taylor Hines, I thought, had a good game against Ghana. I feel like she did a job. She can now play. She's playing left back for England. She's playing centre or right back for Arsenal. She's still got that versatility. And then obviously the talk of the town in this game is Lucia Kendall, who is, I mean, albeit creates conversation. This is it. This is it, right? I mean, obviously it's Stanway, it's Walsh, and it's Tooney, and has been that holy diamond trinity for a very, very long time. The question is, for Lucia Kendall, is there a possibility where, I mean, obviously players go down, players get missing for tournaments, but this is, I mean, she celebrated that goal as Serena said, like it was a Champions League final, but she wants to play for the three Lionesses. She was absolutely spectacular. I think she also presents a different archetype compared to the other 3. She's not, I think a lot of comparisons have been made to Kira Walsh. I think that's dumb. I wouldn't compare her to Walsh, Stanway, or Tooney. Again, get the jar out for the Menso. It's kind of the Adam Morton situation where you have a player who dictates tempo, does not make mistakes. When she played against the Tillies, you could genuinely argue she was running the show. She was one of the best players on the ground against us, no questions asked, and she did it again. And you can't choose your opposition, but she's a joy to watch. I really, really like watching her play. It's a bit different when she's playing for Villa and she's trying to set up Hansen and Salmon and Chastity Grant. Like, you're trying to set up different players who just can't finish for you. But you can have the trust in Walsh and Letitia to drop into your spot, to move into those attacking positions and get on the score sheet. And even seeing Missy Bo Kearns, right? This is teammates combining together on the field as little youngsters who want to be a part of this Lionesses crop.
I think I think Serena has always really had a problem with midfielders and really blooding midfielders in. We saw this with Katie Zellum, we saw this with Jordan Nobbs, we saw this with Laura Coombs, LBB. I feel like she's stuck with that midfield. She loves that midfield. That midfield has won her a lot. And I think looking for replacements and looking for likes is stupid because these players basically have benefited from years of playing before Serena, at Serena's inception for England, and then with Serena. And in that time, I see similarities with Alessia Russo, similarities with Leah Williamson. These players grow under Serena. And so to bring players into the system, you have to kind of take that mentality that that's the Georgia Stanways, the Kira Walshes, the Ella Toons at the start of their career with England. And to put that much pressure on these players is just kind of banal and stupid. It, like, to me, she is a player that very much kind of like Missy Burns would do a job. And I think that they are coming into a very like professionalized English system that knows how to rotate, that knows how to do the job. The system trumps all. And I think that they're suiting the system right now. But I also realize that Serena really loves that three in midfield. So I wouldn't be seeing any changes anytime soon to that drastic extent.
I mean, I 100% echo that. When you're looking at players like, LBB, Grace Clinton are two players that are probably the next in line to potentially fall into that crop in midfield. Jess Park, I mean, again, albeit can move to the wing and you can ship her in that way. But, I mean, it is weird when you're thinking about age specifically because none of Stanway, Tooney or Kira Walsh are over the age of 30. They're not excessively old. It's just they've been around for as long as we can remember when you're looking at the Hegarisa days of the Lionesses, the Phil Neville days of the Lionesses. I mean, it seems like eons ago that like there was a time before the like pre-Weigman at this point. Like we're talking BW and AW, right? This is an interesting England team with youngsters who want to break in, but still have to, you have veterans who are now 2 times Euro winners. I can say all I want, and I could give you a thesis on why I think Jess Park is levels above Ella Toon, right? That's just what I think. But one of them is a 2 times Euros winner. That's there's no
like, on the field.
On the field, and no, but I'm talking about like she's winning games for them. She's done the job. I can't even like I can remember like being in front of Ella Toon absolutely schmies us in that Women's World Cup in the semi-final. She rips that ball into the net. This is she was 24 years old when that happened, right? This is a player who's done more for England than arguably any in that respective position. And I think it's going to be hard to rip anyone out of that team other than it being a slump in form that's not happening because United are playing relatively well. We'll see how they go post-break. But the injury crisis looms. Women's football throws swings and roundabouts that are hard to navigate. And I think to set up for that with players like Kendall, players like LBB, players like Jess Park is crucial. And I mean, no time like the present to chuck them in against a Ghana or a China and rip through them completely. That's all I really have to say or want to say about the Lionesses. Japan, who schmised my home country, Canada, twice. Japan look way scarier than us, than the Tillies. I am terrified. As you can see, Japan kit in the corner there. They are lurking on us. Obviously, I put them together for a reason. But I don't know about their depth. That is the real question. They do have depth. I'm not saying that they don't. They have many WSL ballers. They have many players that can do the job and are doing the job within England and Euro ball as a whole. But that front four and the midfield, their front six, basically, pound for pound, probably beats our front six, I would say. That it's Tanikawa, Fujino, Hamano, Yui Hasegawa, Tanaka, Miyazawa is a scary, scary front six that will present a lot of questions about our ability to defend fast, combinations, tactical transitions, the ability to spread the play and isolate. So whoever we play on that in that left back side, whether it's Rankin, whether it's Nevin, whether it's Catley, I don't know what Jomo's cooking up, but they're going to have to go up against a primed and ready Fagino who looks incredibly dangerous. Yep. When they swap the wingers, it's going to be Hamano, who's arguably, if you ask a Chelsea fan, they'd say more dangerous than Fagino. And then Gori, you got to deal with, arguably, if you ask me, top 3-6 in the world, right? Yui Hasegawa didn't even play second leg, and played very little of the first. Didn't play any of the first, right? But it was murder over both legs. Fagino's goal was excellent. Tanaka capitalizing on a Sheridan blunder, and Tanikawa finishing beautifully. Like, this is what they do. They can pounce on teams that are better than the teams we pounce on. But again, we don't choose. We do choose our opposition, but we don't. But this is a level of team that we're going to come up against that we haven't, as you said, haven't planned for just yet. And I'm quite worried. They are definitely a scary force and a force to be reckoned with within Asia. And unless they come up against opposition that that throw a curveball to them, I feel like they're going to look at this tournament like they are the favourites and they should win it.
True. I think that there are problems defensively for Japan. I think that those two centre-backs, specifically Koga and Kumajai, are gettable. Yeah. I think they're top heavy. Slow.
They're very top heavy.
They're top heavy, but Japan have always been top heavy, and I won't. And even the World
golden
Cup
gen,
winning, even the World Cup winning, generation of Japan did have problems with defending.
Best goalie of all time, though.
But from what I know about Japan and from watching their game, the style of football that they have and what they possess in the style plus the added talent that they hold and where that talent sits in Europe, you have basically a front line of all WSL ballers, bar the front two in this particular game, of a Bayern player and a Utah Royal player, but a baller still, like a legend in Japan, right? In Tanaka. So to me, I don't see a way that if this Japan team gets rolling, I don't see a way that this system just completely envelops the Aussies, the Tillies. It suffocates. They suffocated Canada. Like, it was just consistent moving of the ball forward and wanting. And this is no Canadian team that can just easily be toppled. They have balls.
I want to agree with you, but this is a shell. This is like we were talking about. This is a shell of remnants of a golden generation, and players like Fleming are looking like this is kind of the beginning of the end.
Fleming looks like she hates this team. I'm just exactly. So real. She rocks out there. She looks like she hates this team.
Yeah, and you have the young player at the alternative, and then the old guard, and you don't really know what to choose. No. And Natalie Henderson needs to work out what the goal is for Canada's women's national team, because you have players like Vanessa Gilles who are going to play, and then you have players like Jade Rose who are on the fringes, and then you have players like Sheridan who have history and legacy, and then you have players like Sabrina D'Angelo who's keeping Ellie Roebuck out of the team at Aston Villa. Like, this is a very interesting alternative either or situation, which you can kind of go across the ground, right, and think, okay, who's up front, Prince or Oitama? You don't really you have to make these decisions. This is not easy. This is the hardest part about international football, is you have to know who your best team is. Liv Smith didn't really offer all semblance of. No, who was on the right then? Sorry,
it was Becky. The racing Louisville player.
Yeah, so, she didn't offer much, but Smith will play. Smith will end up playing if they're playing in a tournament. Yeah,
I think right now the back line, I think it should be Jade Rose and I think it should be Gilles. I don't think Zadorsky is the standard anymore. I think she had a really poor game, and I think that whole spine is a problem there. I mean, some of them are playing in Canada,
Yeah.
You have the Canadian League. It's in its inception, first season, sure, right? But it's kind of like the Tilly's question here. Like, how many dub players can you actually have in a team to like level up class wise? And right now, I just kind of think that you have some good players. Jade Rivier's there, as we mentioned, Jesse Fleming's there, Hoytema, Vines, whoever, right? Like, there are ballers there. But they will only do so much if the system and the kind of like the whole squad is not on the same pedestal as kind of like the top ballers in your team.
You're 100% right about Becky. Like, Becky just having no option in the middle for her to facilitate her best game. But in reality, it's a one-off game that doesn't matter because Smith will play in that position. So it's kind of just cutting off your nose to spite your face. And what is the point of this game for you to develop? It's more interesting when you play players like Awujo, right? Awujo is a player that probably will be a part of the Canada crop for the years to come. But again, you're choosing between, I mean, you can play Awujo and Fleming together, but they're kind of similar archetypes of player, right? You don't know if they play very well together. And from what I saw, they didn't really play well together. But you have players like Ash Lawrence who didn't play. And then you have Riviere who they're both right backs, right? It's hard to make these decisions and then you have to ship one on the other side. And this is the trials and tribulations of international football where I expect better from Canada, who have players like Shields and Veens and Julia Grosso, and these are not bad players by any measure. It's just they got shown a class level, they got shown a system level, and this is what you should aspire to be if you're looking at a team like Japan, who are hungry, looking to be the kings of Asia, and I mean will mount a challenge for that and show that they can do it over the legs of the friendlies, whatever that means. The last 3 games we want to talk about
go over
to
them
finish
quickly?
off. Let's smash through them quick. So Brazil and Denmark both played Norway. Denmark v Norway, I would argue we talked about the best 0-0 of all time with Spain and Germany. This was probably the 0-0 you cop and expect. But Norway, are just a shell. Granger's Norway are just the hardest thing to watch. Honestly, there are not many sports that are hard. There's not many institutions that are harder to watch. From watching the 0-0, I watching Denmark and how they operated.
You did it in the wrong order, Ben.
Yeah,
you watched
I know.
the 0-all first.
Yeah, I watched the 0-all first. I apologize. Yes, yeah. So I had vested interest in how I wanted to, and how I see my Norwegian
shooting
goats.
yourself in the foot. It's like
Yeah.
Gemma Granger Ball beats a Brazil team that is known for being stodgy and annoying and physical, and they actually rocked up. And Brazil traveled to Norway and looked gassed as hell, and a lot of their players are coming off of the back of seasons. I get that.
Yeah.
But the way that they were able to dismantle the back line of Brazil is something that I think a lot of teams recently have actually struggled to do. So I was impressed. I was not impressed with the Denmark game, like at all. It was a complete 360. I mean, the quality of the game, Ben, it was poor. Like from missed chances to missed penalties to
the missed pen was poor. The missed pen was so bad. That was a low driven pen right next to the keeper's foot, and it was just a schmizing. I mean, there was a chance after chance after chance, but there was a little bit of back and forth and a bit of garbage goopers as we call it. But like, I feel like that is basically what I've come to expect of Granger's Norway in that 0-0. But I mean, the
even
5-0
Caro can't save them. I mean, at this point, it's
but Caro's being forced into a midfield 5 where she's not allowed to. She's not allowed to isolate. She had the width, but she's not further forward. She doesn't have the depth. That's why.
I just don't think Granger is reacting to the team that she comes up against. I mean, Denmark played in the 3-5-2, and you play a 4-5-1. It's kind of stupid. Like, I don't understand that. It comes to a point where you're just bulking the midfield for the sake of it, and it gets stodgy in the center of the park. So there's no width. to me, you're isolating Turland, who's already a struggle. Like she struggles 1v1. I'm not going to take the agenda that she's, Haaland 2.0 and 1v1. She can turn a player and just shoot on her dime. Like no,
Yeah.
like Turland needs the ball to her feet. Turland needs the ball to her head. She needs the ball to be where she wants to be, and to have her kind of running onto balls is stupid. And at least Marnham's getting minutes. That's all I can say. At least Marnham's getting.
I mean that's fair, but again, that is a question of shoehorning in your top players, because ultimately we watched that at the Euros and they just didn't really fit well between.
They played her in the wrong position.
Well, I mean, no, I mean they played Marnham in the right position for 2 games and the wrong position for 2 games, but I mean they were forcing Guro into fullback, right? That's the options that they had. I think the reality is that they still haven't developed an identity that caters to their players, and in comparison to Brazil, who do, right? The game against Portugal, if I'm not mistaken, the 5-0 game where you had Ludmilla and Dudinha and their bench come on, players like Luani and Bruninho and Bia. This is still a team that is going to contest, and as you've said many times before, are a dark horse in any international tournament, because their best is hard to beat, and it's the style in which they play that, if disrupted, becomes a little bit more aggressive and a bit more feisty, and we saw that in that England game. But the reality is that they can fight with the best, and they will always put up competition against anyone they play, and that's why I thought they won 5-0 against Norway, but yes, there's only one other game that I wanted to mention.
Shout out? I think we just shout out Viv.
Shout out
her
Viv.
out.
Right there.
Shout out,
right
you've turned around, you have your Viv jersey on.
There we go.
No one cares.
Yeah. Sorry, should I turn around 3 more times in the next 30 minutes? So that's how many times that, four in 36 minutes. Yeah.
Insane. I mean, absolutely.
I mean, and then all of the haters of our podcast can tell me it's the same Viv. They were playing South Korea. All right. Kalma. She is good.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that. Look where she was playing.
Scoring them. Yes, she was playing. No, she was playing. She was roaming. She was Viv.
Oh no! Come on, Vic Pulova was the ostensible 10 there. I mean,
no. I understand she was up front, but again, she's not gonna. She's not scoring goals in. It's not inside the box. It's not 6-yard tap-ins, is it? It's strikes from the 18-yard box.
Exactly.
It's getting isolated with your face to the goal. I understand that, but Jeglerts doesn't want low percentage finishes like that. That's not the way we play. The goals we've scored, the best football we play is when we're bunnies tapping the ball in from 6 yards. She's better at that than Viv is. But that being said, it was an immense performance. Vivian Miedemar just doing a blast from the past. I mean, this is everything you want to see from an international break. Someone fresh and fit to come back and fire. But that is all we have for the international break. We're going to do a segment I like to call a rapid fire Euroball preview. It's going to be literally 3 minutes flat. We're going to go through basically every game and smack through it. So, Arsenal v Liverpool at the Emirates, Razball v Gazball. What do you think?
3-0 Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal.
3-0 Arsenal. 3-0 Arsenal, and I think this will be a testament of kind of like where we want to be coming after.
This will set the precedent, set the standard. Okay, I think 1-0 game management mode, Arsenal, Rene Ball, classic, 1-0. You'll win and Liverpool won't score. Sure. Kind of similar to what I think for Leicester. We're going into the Foxes' den. I think they're going to score early, and then we are going to come back, because that's what we're due a comeback at the moment. I think it'll be 2-1 to City.
And I've gone the opposite. I think it'll be 2-1.
You are horrible. You're just a horrible human.
I don't care. It's a gut feeling.
Fair enough. It is a gut feeling. Chelsea, Everton at where do they play? Kings Meadow.
At Boreham Wood.
Yeah, Kings Meadow.
Kings Meadow, Boreham Wood, same.
Yeah. Kings Meadow. I said 3-0. I think Aggie will have her mitts all over this. She's due a goal in the WSL. She'll have the first one and the last one with Walsh in the middle, 3-0.
I'm gonna say I said on the sheet 4-0. I'm actually gonna go 4-1. I've been
4-1.
Gago-pilled, right?
Gago pilled, fair
I think she'll
enough.
score a
Well,
consolation.
yeah, consolation. So 4-0 to 4-1.
Yeah.
Cuts the lead in half. All right. We vamos. Madrid v Sociedad. Second v third in the table. This is a ripper game. What do you think's coming?
I genuinely think it's a draw 2-2. I
Wow.
think Sociedad have a lot of energy after beating Barca. I know it's a couple weeks ago now, but it's another big opposition. I really think that they'll turn up for this game, and I think Madrid players will be tired because they've been
Yeah.
playing a lot.
I mean, Imade, the Spanish Imade coming through. But no, I think 3-1. I think Caroline Weir is going to continue doing the business, and I think it'll be routine. Esguirre always gets a consolation, no matter if Sociedad win or lose. So I think she'll have her mitts on this. Atleti versus Sevilla. Thoughts? I'm going big.
I'm
going
going conservative here. I think it's a solid
interesting.
2-0. I think like,
Okay.
Sevilla, mid-table baller team in
See, I think
Spain.
they're not. I think they're lower than mid, and we know what Atleti do to average baller teams in the Liga F, which is Fiamma, Brace Benitez, and and Luani, 1 goal, 1 assist, and Sariegi. They all have their hands on this game. I
Fair
think
enough.
Atleti do that a lot. As the same for Barca and now Tenerife. Look, I've gone the opposite. I've gone
Yeah.
3-1 Barca. I think this will be
I
a
just
lot
want
of
to know who's
shots, a lot
scoring
of
for
keeps.
Tenerife.
Castello's scoring for
Oh, sorry,
Tenerife
yeah.
because of what she did last week. I mean, the brilliance in
Yeah.
creation that she had in last week's game. And I think this is a game for Pyor to get a brace, and then she will be comfortably at the top of the WSL Liga F goal scoring chart. But I think Clara Serrajordi will score the third goal because she will be in the starting lineup due to the broken leg of Leggy's Messiah, that is Aitana Bonmati. But what you still think will be
I
bad?
think it's big. I think it's big 6-0. They love coming off the break, Barca. They love it.
That's
They love
true.
getting
That
back
was
into
the 8
they
nil
love
last
yeah.
time.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
love
in the
getting back
first half.
into
That
they
was
love getting
bad.
back into Barca ball craziness. And I think at home I just don't think, 6-0 easy.
Yeah. Frankfurt Bayern, big game. Big game
Yeah.
at
I'm
home.
going Bayern 3, Frankfurt 1. I do think
Wow.
it's comfortable. Frankfurt score, but I think it's comfortable. I just think class-wise, Bayern just have it over Frankfurt. And I don't know. I think that they're really coming into crazy form right
This
now.
will be it. This will be
Frankfurt's
it. This will
been
be the
good.
season done. I think this is
You reckon?
genuinely
Done?
season done. I think
I think season done
Frankfurt
was
scored
3 weeks ago.
Frankfurt. Yeah, no, true. But Frankfurt scores the first and the last. It'll be 1-0, then it'll be 4-1, and then it'll be 4-2. And I think
Easy.
it'll be 4-2 Bayern. I think VFL will comfortably level up against Freiburg, not Freigang. Freigang will be in a different part of the Frauenbunds. But I'm going 2-0. I think Pop will score. It's been a while since Pop's been on the
Me
sheet.
too.
And Zakai, who had a great volley last week, and I think she'll follow it up again.
I'm going 3-0. I think it's due like a classic VFL day out, Pop, Minge,
Yeah.
Bernstein. I just think like it'll be comfortable, I think.
Yeah, and that's so fair. I think the big three will end up with wins. As we move to the Femminile, Roma v Juve 1v2. This is a big
This is huge.
game.
This is
I
huge.
mean, I am sticking with my guns. I'm going 2-0 Juve. The
Wow.
old heads, the old guard, that is Cambaji and Girelli doing the business in the biggest game of the year so far.
I think the instinct is to go for Juve because they're big in big games.
Yeah.
But I just think Roma focusing solely on the league, the Champions
This
League.
could be the league done if
This
they
is
win
the
this
league
game.
for me. I think that
Yeah.
that's the mentality they've brought in. 2-1 Roma. I think it'll be late.
Yeah.
And I think means I think it'll be big. I really
Yeah,
do.
fair enough. And Napoli, Milan, the two shapers of the league.
This is going to be the most Serie A game in the whole just weekend. This is it.
No,
This is
Milan,
the Serie A.
Milan don't do Serie A. This is what I mean. They've got too many non-Serie A ballers for Serie A ball. But I'm going 2-2. I'm saying Cecilia Fleur and Bellucci goals for Napoli, and then their comeback from Milan. I feel like they're due a comeback. Evelyn EJ and Van Doren's been off the sheet for a while, so I feel like they'll do that. But I mean, that was quick. That was ripped
There you
through.
go.
That is around the grounds predictions right there. the dub. I mean,
Oh
we're
my
just
God,
going
do
to talk
this
about
so quickly.
Let's
Just
your
do this
team,
so
your
quickly.
your team won, and my team didn't play again. Shock! What a
At this point,
surprise!
for anyone who doesn't know, it's Victory have played 5 games, and I think it's us and maybe another team or a couple other teams who've played 5 games, and then there's teams like City who've only played 2 games.
Yeah,
So there's
it's a
absolutely
joke.
there's no way that you can make any assertion about like any title contest, any finals run. No
No,
way. We happen to beat a really bad Perth Glory team, a Perth Glory team that, by the way, blamed the fact that they have to travel. Not a new invention. They have been in Perth the whole time, right? Like, this is not new. Like, I hate this stupid argument. Oh, they're the most isolated, large city in global football. I don't care.
sure.
You play in Perth. You make us go to you.
You
You have to
travelled
come to us.
3,000 kilometres for Kennedy White to smack you in,
It's just like,
destroyed you.
yeah, it was a good game. It was a good half, I should say.
It was a great half from Victory. I think that
then we
shows
locked
your
it up.
level.
Very
Yeah, I
simple.
mean, yeah, game management after 3-0 and done the work. But I mean, it's so silly to even talk about the dub when you're going to have 3 weeks off at some point, which is just, I don't understand how that works. They just get a holiday break, but that's the dub.
They can
for
go to
you.
Perth.
Yeah, that's Football Australia doing its work. I mean, for the Tillies and for the dub. But we're going to slide through to the Benchwarmers Awards. Who do you have as your never bench again?
Mine never bench against Stina Goetzenius, obviously.
Oh
I mean,
my God, we're still talking about
I don't care,
Stina.
Ben. You can, as long as this woman is breathing, and even after she stopped breathing, I will talk about her because she's the goat.
yeah.
She's obviously the goat.
Of course, she should never be benched again. She should have been playing. I
She
don't
should have been playing
understand.
in the second leg. She should have started.
Yeah.
I look. Even if you don't start her, right, bring her on earlier. And I get
Yeah.
that she has an injury. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? You're Tony Gustavsson. You're going to work these players to death anyway. So
Yeah.
you might as well try.
Nah, no question about it. I've got Vicky Lopez. She just has to play. This is.
I don't know where she plays because
No, she's on the right. She's on the right. That's it. She's. It's her side. It's the Saka, the Yamal. Like this
So
is
it's
it.
Vicky. So it's Vicky
Vicky-
who's central.
What central?
Yeah.
Pick whoever you want. Pick whoever you want. It's Pina on the left. It's Vicky on the right, and it's Mariona as a false 9 in my head. But
Okay, fine.
or Alexi as a false 9. Or
Yeah, I was gonna say Alexia.
Imade. I don't care. Just play Vicky on the right. She's
Fair enough.
the real deal. Super sub of the week.
We have the
is-
same super sub. There is no real
okay,
super
yeah,
sub
fair
here
enough.
other
Yeah,
than-
it's
yeah.
Kelly Gargo, man. She's I mean Lady Gargo. This is the monster. This is the little monster, the little French monster who's doing the
crazy.
business. Come on the pod. Who have you got?
I said whoever came up with the Guardian top 100.
Oh, I
women's
don't
players,
even know. Oh my Jesus!
Like,
Oh,
come
my
on the
God.
pod and explain.
I didn't even
to me.
see the top 10 yet, but
It
we
hasn't
did
come
predict
out yet.
it.
It hasn't
hasn't
come out yet,
yet.
but we have some highlights here. Chloe Kelly 11th, Caroline Graham Hansen 12th.
Yeah,
We can
lovely.
move down I won't even go through it. If you want to go
Yeah.
through it, go through it.
It's painful. It's
me,
painfully
it's just-
fun. Yeah.
Why is there 100? That's such a big number. How are
It's
they
dumb.
voting this? What's the parameters? I mean, like, I don't personally understand.
They asked the players, Leggy.
If they asked the players, you know who'd be first.
Yeah, someone who's not Mariona.
It's Marta.
Yeah, it's Marta. Yeah. My come on the pod is Chloe Long. Chloe
Who's
Long.
Chloe Long?
No, she's not the goalie for the women's New Zealand national team. She's not the person who posted that Spain and Barca are basically the same team on that A3 post. Chloe Long, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I've got to get her official title, is the Deputy Director General at the Anti-Counterfeiting Group, who said that we shouldn't buy fake kits because they give you rashes and the dangerous dyes and toxins of fake kits and the crime syndicates that are fake
It's a
kit
crime
distributors.
against humanity, Ben. This
Yeah,
is a
you know what?
war crime.
You know what's a war crime against humanity? Knowing that they're probably made in the same factory and they're charged 6 times more. I'm sorry, the regulations are rubbish. And
just think
this
it's the
woman,
worst
I just
argument.
think you can't you cannot say that without laughing or like going to sleep knowing you're on the biggest bag of all time. And you've probably got a lot of authentic kits, which is probably a good vibe for Chloe Long, I guess.
Look, you know me and my shirt collection.
You're the authentic goat, and even you wouldn't make this argument.
I wouldn't make this argument for two reasons. First, that's like the worst argument you can be making. Like, if you're gonna get itches and scratches from a fake football jersey, what do you think you're gonna get from a real football jersey?
Especially a United jersey.
Yes, the one that they use, Jesus. But
yeah.
Second of all, it's like, I think she's kind of really tone deaf. Like we're in a cost of living crisis everywhere. Yeah. Like at this point, you're not spending $150 on a football kit, especially which, by the way, the player editions and the fan editions are the same price. So at this point, you're like, suck it, Adidas. I am going to go to some Chinese off drop shipper or whatever. Who cares? At this point, if you're just going to wear it around, if you're not going to keep it for sentimental value and it doesn't mean anything to you, then I'm not going to pull you up on the street and be like, is that a fake shirt?
That's a fake shirt. No, she'll just pull you. She'll just pull you up on Instagram and then message me and tell me, do they think they know that they're wearing a fake shirt? To which I respond, yes, they do, and it's okay. We'll live. But that's all I really have for the Benchwarmers Awards. All righty. We are moving on to the final segment, and it is the 14th episode, which is a multitude of 7. So we are going to do What Would KANG Do? Number 14, the second installment of the KANGmunist Manifesto. As I'm going to give you a little refresher, Leggy, the 7 so far that we put into the manifesto already. Article 1 being KANG is a movement, not a moment. Article 2 is self-belief is the key. Believing in young me, myself, and I is all the motivation that is needed for football innovation. Article 3, we may ask ourselves, what would KANG do? But it goes beyond this to who, why, and the how of KANG. Article 4, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, being Leon, Spirit as the baby son, and LCL as the Kanglican Trinity finisher. And then Article 5 being what goes around may come back around if built correctly with the aim of returning on investment, a boomer KANG, if you will. And then 6 and 7 being specifically economic Kanglican theory, Keynesian economics, government intervention not required to stabilize the Woso economy, no manipulation through aggregate demand is required during economic downturns, and each moment should be squandered by parties who want to create movements. We are not Keynesian, we are Keynesian. And then the last one, Article 7, being buy low and Michelle high. Simple law of Keynesian economics. Yeah. But we are in for the next batch of 7. So Article 8, we are going to talk about education of the KANG, provide free education, KANGucation for all children in public schools, abolish child labour in its current form, and build a KANGdomies through industrial production. We want KANG ballers from youth. That is the education they require. That is the education they shall need if we're ordered to build the women's football dynasty that is through a KANGmunist identity. Do you want to take on Article 9? This is all you.
This is all me. This is all the KANG Guard. Now, you may know the Vanguard, but visit the KANG Guard. This is the players that will really, educate the young ones, will be the leading light in the KANG revolution, will be who we look towards for spiritual and ideological questions that we may have. I'm thinking of Nikita Paris. I'm thinking of Trinity Rodman. I'm thinking of Kangslani. I'm thinking of even the ex-players. I'm thinking of the Tobin Heaths. I'm thinking of the Rapinos. And, of course, the Emma Hayes, who I presume will be the dictator of all proletariats, Emma Hayes.
Nice. I mean, she already is, really.
Yeah, but that's the KANG Guard.
The KANG Guard is just... It's just KANG... I mean, it sounds like you've combined a prior what would KANG do, the KANG pilled plus the KANG name. So, Nikita Paris taking over, doing what she does best, which is...
This is the education. It kind of feeds into the last one.
They work together exactly. 8 and 9 together. And then Number 10, I mean, 10 to 12, 10 to 14, we're looking at a lot of historians that were Kang-pilled, really. So we're going to take the first one, which is a quote from Fidel Michel Kangstro, saying, "I find single club ownership repugnant. It is filthy. It is gross. It is alienating because it causes limited profit, hypocrisy, and competition."
Wow.
Yeah. This is, we knew that Kang had influences. We just didn't know how far it went, right? Article 11, a single club is a tragedy, but a million clubs is a statistic to make profit. Woso Stalin. It makes sense. Like, you can't stop the multi doesn't mean 3. Multi means as many as possible. Multi-dimensional, right? This is what we want. We want, I mean, we'll stay tuned for KANG21 when we talk about NFT clubs, but the next quote we have, Article 12, it has to look democratic, but we must have everything in our clubs. I mean, this is obviously Walter Earnings profit, all right. Yeah, like, I mean, you can't stop her. You can't stop the influences. Kang wasn't born. It was more like Woso Chlorians, right? Like, this is it. This is how she got built. I mean, the last quote we have is football. This is Article 13, by the way. Football without money is blind, but money without football is mere opportunity.
Wow.
Emmanuel Kang. You can't stop her. The money is imperative. That is the Kangsian economics. Even Emmanuel Kang was a Kangsian economist. We just didn't realize at the time how important she was. The last one, do you want to take this one? This is kind of born and bred through your invention as well.
Kang.
Yeah, the free mark Kang.
Wow. Look, as you've written here so perfectly, the systems where prices are set by supply and demand with minimal federation intervention. So basically, here we have the KANGmunist versus the free mark Kang debate, right? Like, it's like, do we believe that players should just easily move around, that everyone can have an equal share? Well, young micron marketing dictates that if the demand calls for disruption of the market, Kang will comply as a mogul of the people.
Yeah, and I think that's important to remember. That's so big that you have to know that Michelle Kang is a voice for the people. She's a voice for the nation. I mean, the money comes either way. People can like her or not, and she'll get it. But at the moment, people love her. And the thing is that the reason she's so successful is she's created 2 ideologies, right? The Kangmunism and the free mark Kang. That's what kind of Kang are you? Are you an NWSL Kang or are you a D1R Kangma, right? Like, we need to talk about this, right? I feel like if you like Spirit more than the other 2 Kang clubs, then you're clearly more of a KANGmunist than you are a free mark Kang, right? But obviously, I mean, I mean, if we're talking just the football elegancy, we're going KANG1. Lyon is the greater club. And Lyon is a product, Giraldez is a product of the free mark Kang. So I feel like she's got her toes dipped in all aspects of
she's not limited.
economic theory. But we have to, eventually, once Kang takes over, we'll have to choose between Kangmunism and the free mark Kang.
Well, what happens to the free mark Kang after Kangmunism is infiltrated?
I mean, that is the question, and we won't know until there's a Kangistan to implement that, to implement the structures at play. And I feel like there will be dual ideologies. There will be elections fought over this. Wow. Obviously, Kang, stay tuned for Kang 60 with election cycles, but we'll get there, right? Maybe it might be earlier. We might go like Kang 45, 47, if you get what I mean. But those are the 14 articles so far that fit into our KANGmunist Manifesto. Once we get to about 100, I reckon we'll turn it into a book, the KANGmunist Manifesto.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then that will be our first
Bound in
bit
blood.
of merch. Yeah, Bound in Blood. I mean, it's the new Little Red Book. But that is all we have for Benchwarmers this week. If you like us, please rate us on our social medias. We are on Instagram. We are on Spotify. We are on TikTok, smashing out TikToks left, right, center. We are on YouTube with full audio and visual podcasts. We are also on YouTube Shorts, smashing out little TikToks there as well. Thank you all for listening and have a great week.
Adios.
I just wanna see